Hey there, welcome back to Immortal Unchained. We are immediately jumping into everybody's favorite subject, inventory management. We got a couple new guns to look at, and we're gonna take a peek inside my inventory and see if they're worth using. As usual, the bar will be on the top of the screen to denote when these segments are over. However, I think I'm gonna actually read the descriptions. I've had a little bit of a change in attitude, just so that I don't have to sit here in silence during the inventory management, because it's a bit awkward for me. First up, it's the Ravager Carbine, which is pretty good actually. Able to besiege any fortification in the cosmos, the Ravagers utilize the explosive power of the grenade launcher to tear down their opponent's defenses. And yes, underbarrel grenade launchers are very useful in this game. Extremely so. They are some of the most useful gun attachments. So I'm going to lock that, because I very much would like to use that weapon, just not right now. We also got our hands on some dual pistols, which is pretty neat. Some Deganites choose to forego the relative safety within city walls and live their lives in remote and inhospitable areas of their homeworld. They learn to bend the elements to their will and design weapons harnessing the power of nature. Apparently nature is very cold, because these are our first major frost weapons. Unfortunately, they are vastly underpowered, so I am not going to be using them. On the opposite end of the spectrum, however, is the wooden club. The most primitive humans use weapons that are no more than sticks and stones tied together, which is what the wooden club is. The wooden club is the first major strength weapon for melee-focused characters, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good standby. Good at knocking stuff over. So yes, my current plan is the Ravager Carbine, and hell, we might as well stick it on there, considering I just dumped a bunch of stats in order to be able to use it. The Separatist Carbine is still my end goal, but for now the Ravager Carbine makes for a pretty good middle ground, I suppose. So, welcome to the creepy caves. Endless rivers cross the continents of this realm. Prehistoric humans used these rivers for travel to distant and forgotten lands. So presumably it's not all like this. I spoke in the last episode about how hopefully Viridian isn't entirely caves, jungles, and fauna that tries to eat you, but I'm kind of starting to have my doubts a little bit. I don't know. Oh boy. Well, that's not good. We got a new enemy type on our hands, and they're a little bit more than a handful when they come in large numbers. Not that that's ever going to happen. Not that we're ever going to be ambushed by any of those big exploding guys anytime soon. It's just not going to happen. I don't know why you're predicting such an event, because there's no possible way that the laws of game design would allow that to take place. Speaking of ambushes. You know, it's kind of interesting. These large charging gentlemen, on their own, they're not that bad. On their own, they're pretty much just a standard enemy type. Dodge around to the back and they take a bunch of damage. But if you put two of them in the same room, suddenly it becomes so much more interesting of a challenge, because they will not hesitate to charge at you from opposite directions. Also, there's a guy way over there. So thankfully, we have our sniper rifle and can pick him off before he becomes a pain in my ass. And he does. If you leave him alive, he'll try and peg you while you're running along the cliffs. But he's just out of reach of the middle ground ranged weapons. So you need something like a sniper rifle or perhaps a grenade launcher to take him out from a distance. Fire Sands Needlers are still good. We're going to be getting some use out of them for sure. But our arsenal has expanded in capacity pretty greatly now that we have the ability to equip 3 weapons. Like, it's kind of crazy, actually, how big of a difference that makes. It's really well balanced. Trying desperately to keep his family together, the boy became their very center. Although he would ultimately fail, in the beginning he did well. We'll learn what character that forlorn idol refers to a little bit later in the game. Not yet. It'll be some time. I do really like the aesthetic of Viridian in general. The caves feel very dank, I suppose, is a way to describe them. They feel very dank. Like, it just looks very moist in here. I don't know, the vision obscuring fog probably is mostly for game performance, but it adds an interesting atmosphere to the place. One thing that I both like and find a bit unnerving is that there's all these ruins, but there are no modern civilizations. Like, there aren't any humans to be found. Technically speaking, unless you count Bren, I guess, but Bren wasn't even here on the human homeworld, if Bren even is human. I don't know. I can't help but wonder if that is an artistic choice, or if it's because the developers didn't have the resources to, you know, render human beings en masse. This ain't Hitman. There are no giant crowds to wade through. So we're finally getting enough Cerium decrees to open some of these chests, and inside that one was a direct upgrade to the sniper we're using, which is nice. Scattered across Viridian, the primitive humans live without central government or codex, their only constant being their devotion to the Prime. Ah, a religious state, I see. Well, that makes a bit more sense. I guess there are still humans on Viridian somewhere, just not here, considering the way the locals are a bit hostile. Probably not just hostile to us. So, welcome to an area of the level that I have characteristically nicknamed Valley of Fucking Bullshit Garbage. These big exploding gentlemen who are very happy to kill themselves to kill you. They will not stop, and they will not rest until they explode on top of you. It sucks. Nomadic tribes travel with the seasons to find food and shelter. This in turn leads to conflict when tribes compete for the same territory. Well, I guess that's not out of the ordinary then, is it? I guess I don't mind not actually seeing any evidence of this. You know, I feel like just having the details like that relegated to lore, explaining that, yes, somewhere that kind of stuff is still going on today, just not here in front of our very eyes. It's fine. It's enough. It builds the world enough, in my opinion. But yeah, Valley of the Fucking Bullshit. There's a little canyon here that is just completely chock full of these gentlemen just ready to burst. And up there on the cliff on my left, there are enemies that can shoot down on you. Thankfully, they have not noticed me yet. But don't worry, they're on their way. Yeah, up there he goes. If you're quick enough and not using an acid weapon, which these guys are immune to, you can take them out before they explode. But generally, the strategy that I've found that works is running directly at them, because then they jump past you and kill themselves, and then you don't have to worry about them. And you know what? My props to the developers. Their pathfinding is excellent. It's impeccable, the pathfinding on these guys. But getting caught in the plants is a death sentence, and they are everywhere down here. There's just a lot of hazards to worry about down here in this little valley. It's a nightmare. In fact, this was my first death. The first time I played this game. The first time I died was pretty much exactly here. I got caught in one of these snares, and there was an exploding guy running straight at me, and you take extra damage when you're in the snares. So this essentially is what happened. What you just saw there, except he didn't explode early. It's a true test, a really interesting test of your situational awareness, because there haven't been many of those so far. The Azurian skillful manipulation of the stream has made more primitive races regard their craft as magical. They're revered as teachers and sages by the humans with whom they shared their wisdom. Well, that's interesting. I suppose there was some conflagration, I think is the word, between races here. This is something I kind of like about the lore of Immortal Unchained, is that you got different races and species just kind of hanging out together. Like, they're all human-shaped, vaguely at least. So I guess they at least tried to get along. These rivers have run red with the blood of innocents on countless occasions. The natives say it is cursed, that anyone who bathes in its waters is destined for a violent death. Alright, well maybe they didn't try to get along that well. Maybe the whole getting along thing only extended as far as the godlike creatures sharing their knowledge with the nomads, granting religion to the masses and all that stuff. Golan has dedicated his life to the acquisition of knowledge. As he gained a reputation as the most learned of the Prime, even Naro turned to him for counsel. Well, hopefully Golan has some ability to tell us what's going on here. Perhaps we'll meet him someday. Because I very much would like to know why a crawling chaos is eating the world. I guess we technically still don't know if the aforementioned crawling chaos is a physical thing or purely metaphorical. Maybe it just represents the forces of the undead. In the intro cinematic, it looked quite spectral in nature, however, so maybe it's a combination of both. And hey, this is kind of clever. They put a bunch of little shanty ladders up here to show you that you are directly underneath the obelisk. I really like this shortcut, because it's like right when you need it for a resupply, and it also circumvents the Valley of the Fuckfaces so that you don't have to ever go back there. Making you go through that area every time would be such a pain that thankfully they were smart enough to make you only do it once. Ranger's Lancer. It's a fire weapon, which is nice. Lancers are highly accurate assault rifles with long effective range, originally designed by Deagonite Rangers for hunting the deadly fauna of their homeworld. Models fitted with silencers and biolink are specialized for survival tactics. Specialized is what I said there. So this weapon has a flamethrower on it, and flamethrowers are crazy good. They just absolutely melt enemies that are in the way. Flamethrowers in this game are super effective on enemies weak to flame. Some of the worms of Dagon are too large and vicious to confront head-on, and must be taken down with precision rifles from a distance. Hunters use armor-piercing ammunition to snipe vital organs protected by hardened scales. So the Worm Hunter Sharp Rifle is essentially a direct upgrade of the long rifle that our class started the game with, so definitely going to keep that in mind for later. And a machete. The nomadic tribes of Viridian sharpen their machetes every night to be able to traverse the thick jungles of their homeworld. Wielded with expertise, these blades serve as brutal weapons. And brutal they are. The machete's not so good for us, because we started with the worn rapier, which is almost exactly the same weapon. But were I to start with a crappier melee weapon, the machete would be a good, fast alternative. So, the Worm Hunter Sharp Rifle. Okay, so now I can use the Separatist Carbine, and now I can use the Worm Hunter Sharp Rifle. So, our arsenal is looking pretty good. we can get rid of these inferior versions because now we've got the top of the top, essentially. Like, the Separatist Carbine and the Worm Hunter Sharp Rifle are two of the best weapons that the game gives you early on for just, like, general ease of play. And I'm not gonna say that I picked these weapons out specifically for this character because they make the game easier and I'm bad at the game. Instead, I will say that they give me an advantage over my enemies from a tactical perspective that I think evens the odds just a little bit. That's how I'll say it, so that I don't sound like a huge coward. Okay, maybe I am a huge coward, but this is the kind of game where being a huge coward is actually kind of preferable. So, I did a Let's Play of Bloodborne that wrapped up relatively recently, and in that Let's Play, I very much I spoke very highly of the type of gameplay that Bloodborne has, where you are encouraged to always be on the move, always be advancing on your enemies and regaining your health when you take damage with the rally system. It encourages you to play fast, loose, and dangerous, but still thinking about your actions before diving in, right? Well, Immortal Unchained is like the opposite of that. There is absolutely no benefit in this game to being ballsy. You don't want to be ballsy in this game. It will get you killed. And that's kind of in its nature, because it's a shooter game, you know? You don't really have anything to gain by rushing directly into encounters unless you're using shotguns or melee or something that requires you to be very forceful in your advancing. But the easiest, in my opinion, and the safest way to play this game is to stay very far away from giant enemies. Which is why sniper rifles are so powerful, actually, I feel. More than just the raw damage that they do, sniper rifles play a lot to this game's strengths, which is stuff like how these melee enemies have to run up on you, and they run pretty fast, but the game rewards you for having quick enough reaction time to snipe them before they get to you. And how ranged enemies don't shoot hit scan bullets, like they shoot physical lasers that you can dodge. Obviously, the farther away you are from the enemy, the more time you have to react to their gunshots. Unless it's like enemies like these sniper guys whose bullets fly at 1,000 miles an hour, you know? I think this game is... It has a very interesting take on the combat RPG pacing, a little bit, I would say. Like, the range, the range that it expects you to play at really adds a lot to the game. The lock-on range in this game is very generous, for example. I like it. I really like it. It is a very valid take that I have not seen another game like this do. Other than, I guess, 2 Human, which is like... I'm starting to realize as we move forward in the Let's Play that this game is basically like 2 Human 2. 2 Human 2 to be humaner. Not that that's a bad thing. Hey, look, speaking of range, more grenades. So now we can explode the whole world, which is nice. So I don't know what this here is. I have played through this game a couple of times now, and I have no idea what this teleport portal goes to. I've never found it. Might be a DLC thing. Only ever truly coming alive on the battlefield, Orin revels in calamity and bloodshed. Boy, this Orin guy, he's sounding like one piece of work. It's like if he's like the way they're talking this Orin guy up, it's like this game has the Doom guy as a cameo in it. Rip and tear until the undead are dead again. I like the very ramshackle nature of these bridges and stuff. I don't know why. I just like the visual design of this area. I feel like this game has a good take on the whole, like, organic civilization popping up amidst, like, fauna and natural caves and stuff. It's an interesting balance because, because the structures in this don't really seem buried, for example. Like, they don't seem like they were buried underground, they're just here, they were built here. Blessed bastards, scions of Rin, half-breeds with potential forever untapped, doomed to live in their father's shadow. Okay. Well, that one doesn't make a damn bit of sense, but okay. Perhaps soon we will learn what that means. Legion support carbine. Pretty standard weapon. That's one of the weapons that can drop from enemies, actually. It's alright. It's a pretty good starting rifle if you don't have any good rifles, that is. The moment you have a good rifle, you probably shouldn't use the Legion support carbine. But it's got very stable aim, so if that's what you need, then might as well. Which is weird because it doesn't have a stock on it. This game plays very fast and loose with the idea of physical weapon parts on the guns themselves enhancing their abilities. It's kind of strange. Like, there are some guns that have the flamethrower attachment where the flames just come out of the barrel, but the one that we picked up has a physical flamethrower underbarrel on it, and it's really interesting, actually, because it seems like pretty much all of the guns in this game have unique character models. Well, I guess the guns aren't characters, but you get what I mean. The guns have unique models. They're not cobbled together out of parts, which is really interesting to me, considering that they could have done a thing like Borderlands, for example, where the guns are cobbled together from pieces, like they're putting together like Lego sets. I imagine that having all of the guns be hand designed is probably better in the long run. Uh-oh. Oh boy. Well, that's bad. That's real bad. I'm just gonna open this chest and get the hell out of here. No thank you. Okay. So, the Amber Monarch is our first major side boss. This guy is totally optional, and we're going to leave him that way for as long as I am able, because he's got frost grenades, and he's got 1,000 exploding acid guys as backup who poison you and cause you to run slow. So I'm just gonna make the executive decision to leave him be for now, because he can kill me in one hit with a lot of his attacks. Unfortunately, however, now that he knows I'm here, he's going to be attacking me when we run back through here. So perhaps when we are making our way back to the portal on our way out of Viridian, we'll deal with that man. But for now, I think it would probably be better if we just kind of left him down there. You know, he's too big to climb any of these ladders, so he can't follow us out. Big yikes. Is that a thing the kids are saying these days, is big yikes? I don't know. I like this thing. It looks like a microbe or a virus or something. You know how like viruses, like under a microscope, look like weird little hexagonal video game enemies? It's really cool. When I was a kid, I always enjoyed looking at science stuff under a microscope, because it just fascinated me how non-organic some of that stuff looks. On the opposite end of the spectrum, though, it looks like we're back out of the caves now, thankfully. Although maybe not so thankfully, considering now enemies can dig their way out of the dirt. You know what? I've never actually questioned that. But why was that guy just in the sand? Like, he was like dug in there like an ostrich. I don't get it. So funny thing, I bet this is on purpose. This guy is our first introduction to these big shield-holding enemies. We met a lot of new enemies in this episode, and I bet it's intentional that he fights very similar to the Amber Monarch, probably to train you up for when you come back through and fight him for real. Villages grow around temples and places of worship, but no true city has ever been erected on Viridian. Any such attempts have been thwarted in wars of jealousy. Interesting. I guess they have a very anti-society view here. What with all of them worshipping the Prime and the Azurians and all of that stuff, I guess it's kind of hard to. I guess it's kind of hard to settle down when nobody really gets along. But then again, at least they seem to be fighting with, I don't know, spears and shields and swords instead of, nuclear weapons. That would probably be a little bit more dangerous. I hope none of our enemies ever come at us with nukes, because that would make me a little bit wary. Oh, a guy. Hello. Orin.
Do my eyes deceive me? Are you truly a being of flesh and bone? Filth is this in my senses, my mind and memory. I have observed such in the past. See, the earth rises and the woods twist. No path ever the same. I am trapped, a prisoner in this place.
Well, you sound like you might be cursed, my friend.
Hear that? Cursed thoughts. Unrestrained and brought forth by this place. Give way. Circle upon circle. This and that, back and forth, always returning to the same spot. Cursed. A young lad struck down in hopes of living out life, yet life is not now worth living.
Well, not when you're trapped in a forest for all eternity.
Shadows and doubt everywhere. Always back to the center. Always back to the place. Paths lead nowhere and everywhere, again and again. What advantage have you that you found me here? Led by a hand or a conspirator to my imprisonment. These days have no end. These paths no exit. The paths. The paths. I'm caught in a snare. I cannot fly. Hotter than fire and brimstone. I cannot breathe. I must escape.
Well, you do not seem like such a mighty warrior to me. Although, again, being trapped in a forest for all eternity because you are cursed probably does a number on your psyche. Maybe we'll see Orin again a little bit further ahead on the road. For now, let's stop at the obelisk and call it a day. I'm kinda tired of cutting through the jungle. Viridian structures are built in the image of Apexion to impress the gods. The same pride that doomed the Prime is instilled in their devoted subjects. Oh, well, great. I love it when doom is inherent in a civilization. Really makes me feel a lot more at home.